Today we continue with our class Hilchot Talmud Torah, laws of study on the Torah. We start with Sefer Chaim. And the big topic is the same. To help us construct a contrast, Lashon Hara versus Rechilus. So it says, today's topic, accuracy versus justification. Obviously, the requirements that one be certain of the accuracy of the information applies to all the situation, whether Lashon Hara or Rechilus, is to be spoken for constructive purpose. So first of all, we must make sure whatever we say is 100% accurate. Or if it's second-hand information, as we said before, so you have to present it as such. Don't say that I know that I was there. Present it as second-hand information. There is, however, an aspect of this requirement that does not apply in all cases. Let's see. We have seen in days 52 and 54, so now it's day 151, so it's 100 days ago, that the Torah requires us to judge our fellow Jew favorably and refrain from concluding that he has sinned when our alternative way of explanation of his behavior can be found. So for all of the kosher Jews or Jews that 50-50, right? So most likely he is a kosher person. So we have to find, we have to judge him favorably and find, if possible, some reasonable explanation why he is doing whatever he is doing. Okay. As noted, even when it is clear that a person has sinned, one must consider the possibility that this may have been a result of ignorance or unusual circumstances. Maybe this person did not know that under these circumstances he has to behave as usual. Let's say he thought that it's an exception. Okay, possible. Or unusual circumstances. So he was under stress. So it's not like he's rebelling against HaShem. Person was simply under stress. Okay. While the Torah does insist that we give people the benefit of the doubt, this should not be done at the expense of the others. Okay. Consequently, one has witnessed one person harming or attempting to harm another, when the need of the accuracy does not require an attempt to justifying the perpetrator's motives. So, if you know that there is a danger, so you're not obligated to be 100% accurate. So just present it as a danger and let this person decide what to do. Even if the act is out of the character, it must be rectified, right? And one may therefore inform the appropriate parties. Okay. So in case of the danger, we just inform. Okay. I'm not sure where's everybody else. Not sure. Very interesting. But okay, no problem. We continue. 1 second. Continue. Okay, here we go. So we're up to Halachah number 12. Halachah number 12, and it says, how is above expressed? A person who is a craftsman may spend. Okay, so so the Halachah before that. We said that how a person should study Torah and how he has to split into parts, right? So 3 parts is what? We said written Torah and Chumash, right? No, we other oral Torah. Oral Torah meaning Halachah, that's what we're doing. And the third part is a Talmud. Okay. So now we're going into the details. How is the above expressed? A person who is a craftsman may spend 3 hours each day involved in his work and devote 9 hours to the Torah study. In those 9 hours, he should spend 3 written law, 3 oral law, and 3 meditating with his intellect to derive one concept from another. So, just 1 second, let me turn on the air conditioner. Too hot, sorry. So it's very interesting. So Rambam says, right? So you have to work 3 hours, right? And 9 hours you have to study Torah. So here we go. You have 12 hours. So let's do this piece with a commentary and explanations. So from the beginning, how is the above expressed? So above meaning divide the Torah in 3 parts. Kiddushin where? I'm not sure which page in Kiddushin. Okay, doesn't matter. Kiddushin, same place. Ask this question, noting that on the surface it is impossible to divide one's years in 3, since no one knows how long he will live. There the Talmud explained that one must divide one's days. Okay, so in original Talmud says divide your years in 3, so start with the Chumash, then oral law, and then when you advance, so then you do Gemara, right? They say, how can you divide in 3? I mean, if I know that I'm going to live till 90, it's simple to divide, but person does not know, maybe he's going to live to 32. How do you know, right? So they explain divide in the days, meaning each day must be divided in these 3 parts. Continue. A person who is a craftsman may spend 3 hours each day involved his work. So he needs to do the work, so 3 hours. And devote 9 hours to study Torah. Commentary. Example chosen by rabbis reflect the common situation. Thus, this statement teaches us that what we would consider commonplace division in one's time in Rambam's age. So today, these 3 hours, I don't think it's going to work because most of the company not going to hire you for 3 hours unless you're like independent professional and some kind of consultant, and 3 hours is enough. So this way it's going to work. But on most of the jobs, they need you to work full time. So for 3 hours, they're not going to hire you. So okay. So, but even look at these 3 hours, our rabbis today say you must work the minimum required amount of hours. So what is it? Minimum. The minimum it's 8 hours. So you work 8 hours. You don't like volunteer to stay over for overtime. In those 9 hours, so I mean, whatever is left, right? I mean, so he said that day is divided in 2 parts. One is day, one is night, right? So day meaning 12 hours. In those 9 hours, meaning that he's going to study, he should spend 3 hours reading the written law, 3 hours the oral law, and 3 hours meditating with the intellect to derive one concept from another. 77. There is Gemara. Given his daily study session equally among these 3 areas of study. Okay, that's what they say. Okay, in 3 parts. So today, let's say we don't have as much as 9 hours, but we can scale down, but try to use the same ratio. Okay. Continue. The words of the prophetic tradition are considered the part of the written law, and their explanation part of the oral law. The matters referring to as pardes are considered part of the Gemara. Okay, so let's try to understand this part. See the commentaries. The words of prophetic tradition, commentary. The remainder of the Torah, there is words of the prophets and Holy Scripture. So all of these prophets and writings, right? They part of the Torah. 19 books. They comprise of 19 books. So they consider a part of the written law. Commentary. Brachas 5a relates that entire Tanakh. Right? Tanakh has its source in a revelation at the Sinai. According though in certain regards the 5 books of Moshe as given the greater prominence, the entire written law is generally considered of the same footing. So the difference is, I would say, if you have a Novi, book of the Novi, and you have book of the Chumash, meaning 5 books of Moshe, so you don't put Novi on top of the Chumash, but you can put Chumash on top of the Novi. Right? And plus the proofs, if somebody wants to give over sources, so we start with Chumash and then go to the Novi. If you have sources from both places. So one more time, the whole sentence. The words of the prophetic tradition are considered part of the oral law. Okay, we just explained it, and their explanation is a part of the oral law. So of course, there is impossible to read prophets without any book, any book of the Torah without commentary, because it's not. There are many things that are hidden, and unless they're explained by the sages, it does not make any sense. It just like sentences that do not even seems there is no connection from one sentence to another. But when you read the commentary, it's all comes to life. It's mind blowing, right? But this commentary is the oral Torah. Okay. Continue. So all of this part, so commentary is oral. Continue. The matters referred to as pardes, commentary, the mystic secret describe the nature of the godliness and his creative powers, which are mentioned in brief in the first chapter of Hilchot Yesodei Torah. In particular, chapter 4, okay, Halachah 13. Okay, so it's one of the chapters that we're going to skip. When we cover all others, not all, but many others, so we can go back. But otherwise, it's we don't need it for now. The matters referred to Pardes is considered a part of Gemara. So it's okay. Continue. The above applies to early stages of the person's study. Okay. So that's as Rambam say. Okay, whatever I told you, it's only the beginning. However, when a person increases his knowledge and does not have need to read the written law or occupy himself with the oral law constantly, he should study a written law and oral tradition at designated times. Thus, he will not forget any aspect of the law of the Torah. However, he should focus his attention on Gemara alone for the entire life, according to his ambition and ability to concentrate. So let's try to understand from the beginning with commentaries. The above applies in early stage of person's study. So meaning that he needs to know like basic story of the Torah, like simple understanding of the psukim, and same with the prophets, right? Simple story, like some deeper stuff, what actually happened, what can we learn from this, what halachas we learn from that, and writings. So, but after sometimes you have to limit, right? You have to stop. Even with commentaries, you stop and you go to Gemara to like a deeper level, and of course Gemara always goes back and to the written Torah. That's the source. So it's not like you neglect it completely, but you don't study on a daily basis. That's the meaning of it. So one more time, the above applies to early stages of the person's study. Commentary. The Halachah Mishnah explained that Rambam offered this explanation to resolve the apparent contradiction between commonly accepted practice of devoting most of the one's time to the study of Babylonian Talmud, and the injunction to divide one's study time in 3. So of course, so on one hand it says you have to study Talmud, right? That's one of the most important areas of study after you finish, after you know what to do, maybe in halachically wise, after you finish the Shulchan Aruch. I mean, or you do Shulchan Aruch in parallel. So I mean, unless you're very proficient in the law, so you're not allowed to stop, because otherwise it's very good that you go to Gemara, but you go to sin on a daily basis. That defeats the purpose, right? So Rambam is trying to address what this kind of common question. On one hand, they say study Babylonian Talmud. On the other hand, he say divided in three parts. In response to the same question, Tosafos Kiddushim Tori A explained that the study of Babylonian Talmud also fulfills that directive, because it combines all three areas of the study in single text. Not, I would say, not on the same page. Maybe it's like some concepts, some phrases, some ideas here and there. But if you study the whole Talmud, you would go most likely. I don't want to put numbers, because I don't know the numbers, but majority of the Tanakh you're going to cover. I'm not sure how much, but how, like, percentage wise, but of course they don't discuss every phrase there, but majority, yes. Okay. At present, this pattern of study is not followed even in early stages of the child's learning. Not the Maharal Miprag, the First Israel, chapter 56, and Shlach Masechet Shvos, who explained that advice given in Avos 5:22, where it says, at 5 to study the written law, at 10 study of the Mishnah, at 15 the study of Gemara, is not generally followed. The basis for this departure can be explained in two differences that exist between our contemporary circumstances and situation which prevailed in Talmudic times. Okay. So we have to explain ourselves, as the translator says, right? We don't follow Rambam, and we don't follow Pirkei Avos. Right? Pirkei Avos is oral Torah. So why is that, right? What's going on? So let's see two explanations. A, during Talmudic era, written texts were rare, and it was necessary for the student to commit all the subject matters to memory. Thus, the emphasis was on teaching students by rote. So these kids, and they had to memorize everything by heart. And I think today it was also today, especially in Israel, many geniuses, the tiny little babies, they know a lot of the Torah by heart, the whole Chumash. It's not uncommon. 6-7 years old, they know Chumash by heart. B, Hebrew was a spoken language, and therefore it was not necessary to spend time teaching children the meaning of the subject matter. Right, but today we have to explain this word and that word, so it also takes time. That's why people from like diaspora cannot match to children, even scholars from diaspora cannot match exactly to the scholars of Eretz Israel. It's understandable. At present, the major emphasis is on teaching learning skills and developing the students' powers of comprehension with understanding that once one knows how to study, since the texts are easily available, he will be able to apply himself to the actual study of at his convenience. Okay, I'm not sure why he said at his convenience, but okay. So, the point, one of the points is that books are already available, so anybody can buy Gemara. I mean, it's ridiculous prices sometimes. Like it's $35, whole $35, right? So technically, anybody can afford to buy even more than one copy, right? And so in olden days they had to memorize. Today we're not obligated. It's preferable, but not obligated to memorize. So you can separate from your teacher, and many of your studies could be done in Chavrusa with a study partner, or even by yourself. I mean, if you do it by yourself, of course, with good explanations, and just get okay from your rabbi, basically, that you can study by yourself. Because I see many people, they do like I don't know, they read whatever, they read the text, even the text is clear, and they draw the conclusion exactly opposite to what it says there, even though it does not say whatever they say. So for people like that, it's forbidden, of course, to study alone. They have to study with someone, preferably someone more knowledgeable than they. Right? So, and the last explanation, whatever he gives, so we teach students how to learn themselves, like how to approach the text, right? So I have my personal approach. Other people have different approaches. So whatever works for them, it's basically it's individual preference, right? But at least you have some idea where to look, or what to learn, how to learn, and then technically, as he said, people can go and learn on their own, no problem. Okay, so actually, let's see, what is it? So let's read this. It's a very long sentence, so let's read it again. However, when a person increases his knowledge and does not have the need to read the written Torah, the written law, or occupy himself in oral law constantly, meaning Halachah. I mean, he's he learned Halachah. It's not so much, and he does not. He does not go to different areas that he does not belong. Like he's not a judge. He's not this. He's not that. Like simple person. So actually, he needs maybe to learn this Halachas only once, and basically it's enough if they do not apply to him. Okay, and then he should study the written law, right? He'll have the written law in the oral tradition at designated times, meaning that he covered twice, 3 times, whatever times he covers. So he knows what is going on in a parsha, what Rambam said, what other commentaries say. No problem. Continue. Thus he will not forget any aspect of the law of the Torah. So of course, from time to time, he has to brush up on whatever we learn, as we have this tradition that we have to start learning the laws of the Pesach 30 days before Pesach. So in the day of the Purim, it's exactly 30 days. So like in the afternoon, we start learning the laws of the Pesach. So meaning what? There are many laws, many details, and and they apply only once a year. So I mean, if something applies every day, so of course the person is not going to forget because he practices. But if you practice only once a week a year, so that's have to review every year. Okay, so continue. Thus he will not forget the aspect of the laws of the Torah. Commentary, as mentioned above, the lack of review will cause the individual to forget what he has already learned. So that's a guarantee. So if somebody is so naive that he or she thinks that they heard one time or read one time, even the big geniuses is not going to, unless they have photo memory, and even then it's not enough, because photographic memory is very good, but they do not know what conclusions to make. I knew a person, so he had very good memory, but he's like a computer, like you're talking. But today there is a way to talk to a computer, but in olden days, so you will talk to a computer. I mean, does not know what you want from it. You understand? So even person can memorize things, does not mean that he comprehends or he can draw one thing from another. Right? So it's useless, almost. However, he should focus his attention on the Gemara alone and his entire life according to his ambition and his ability to concentrate. Right? That's what he must do. Okay. Of course, it's for men women is not the preferably they should not read the Gemara. There are a few reasons, but that's for another class. Number 13. Oh, interesting. A woman who studied Torah will receive reward, of course. However, the reward will not be as great as man's, since she is not commanded in this mitzvah. Whoever perform a deed he is not commanded to do does not receive the great reward as one who performed the mitzvah that he is commanded to do. So that's a general statement, and let's read this piece again, this commentaries, and I'm going to explain. A woman, commentary. The first halachah of the chapter relates to women are not obligated to study Torah. Okay, so we remember. A woman who studies Torah will receive reward. However, that reward will not be as great as man's, since he was commanded in this mitzvah. So when we commanded in any mitzvah, so we have a greater Eitzachara in that, much greater, right? So, but if you're not obligated, okay, you volunteer, so there is no problem. So you come and learn, you enjoy, and it's very interesting, right? But for men, it's so hard for him, like it's unfortunate because the Eitzachara is very strong, not prevent him from getting this reward, the biggest reward. So that's why his reward is greater, because resistance is greater. Whoever performs a deed which is not commanded to do does not receive as great reward as one who performs mitzvah he is commanded to do, which we just explained, but let's see, here's a commentary. Tosafos Kiddushim 31a explained that the person who is commanded to perform a mitzvah will be more conscious of the obligation and try to fulfill it more fastidiously than a person who performed the same act of voluntarily. So here the Tosafos gives us a totally different, another aspect of this. Why somebody who is obligated is going to get a greater reward, besides it's a hara, of course. That also stands and valid. The person who is obligated today to do something, he would be more what was the word? Conscious of his obligation, right? He would pay attention to the detail, not just do, but try to concentrate. Okay. Because why? Because he's obligated to do. Okay, continue. Hasidic thought explained that concept differently. A Hebrew word mitzvah, commandment, share the same root as connection. Okay, fulfilling the commandments establish a transcendent bond with godliness. In a contrast, a good deed that is not commanded, no matter how worthy, remains as an act of man and does not establish such a connection. That's a very interesting thing. So when a person is doing mitzvah, it's we have 613 ways to connect to HaShem. So when he does mitzvah, so there is like one strand of rope, right, to connect to HaShem, right? But if he's not obligated, she's not obligated to do so. I mean she's still going to get reward according to this explanation, but the bond is not established because she's not obligated. But there are many other, as we explained in the beginning of this section, that women get different rewards. Okay, continue. 86. Even though she will receive reward, the sage is commanded that a person should not teach his daughter Torah, because most women cannot concentrate their attention on a study, and thus transform the words of the Torah into idle matters because of the lack of understanding. Okay. So let's do it again and we explain. Even though she will receive the reward, the sage is commanded that a person should not teach his daughter's Torah. 87. There is no explicit source in the Rambam statement, though one may draw such a conclusion from Sota 20a. That passage relates that one prominent sage ben Azai did not share this opinion. As mentioned in the commentary to Halachah 1, rabbis require a woman to study the laws governing to the mitzvahs which she is obligated to fulfill. And as we explained, it's a lot, right? So in many times, men would rely on women be expert in these halachas. These halachas, for example, of koshering. I have no idea what is kosher, like what is not kosher, how to kosher, how to cook, how not to cook, this and that. And like laws of family purity. Only few men like ever learn like even basic, like very very basic. Unfortunately, right? Men must know all these things. Based on that decision, many contemporaries explain that the Rambam statement refers only to intensive study of the subject matter described in Gemara as a Gemara in previous Halachah. So intensive study. So of course, it's not for women. And one explanation that I heard from Rabbi Mizrachi Shlita. So why women should not study Gemara? Because since they don't have evil inclination to study, they're not obligated to know evil inclination, and plus it's so interesting and it's so involved. So she would like dedicate herself completely, and she would not want to get married and have children. You understand? Because she would get so much enjoyment from that, and that's why we said, just limit whatever, and then she's going to not go against her purpose of her creation in life. So she was not created for study Torah. Okay. But she was created from other things which she neglects, of course. That's the issue. Okay. So let's do from the beginning. Even though she will receive reward, our sages commanded that a person should not teach his daughters Torah, because most women cannot concentrate on their attention on study. Okay, commentary. Commentaries have mentioned that by adding the word most, Rambam implies that if the father sees that his daughter is capable of such a study, he should afford her an opportunity. Of course, some women are very sharp, right? And in my office where I work, especially in the past few years, all of the bosses were women. It's unbelievable, all of them. No, not all of them. That the top was men, but 2 bosses above me were women. Just put it this way. Okay. So women today are much more advanced than they were in that time. Of course, they get in a different education, they're smarter, they more understanding, they have logic and this and that, but still the problem is it's not their purpose in life. Right? But as commentaries say, of course, I mean, if they're smart, of course, father has to develop it. Okay, so and thus, so they cannot concentrate on the study, and thus transform the words of the Torah into idle matters because of the lack of the understanding. Kinyat Eliyahu notes the contrast between the first clause, a woman who studies, and the command the sages gave a father. Okay. He differentiates between the study of a woman, the study of the woman undertakes voluntarily, which is considered desirable, and the father's training his daughter in matters which is not necessarily relevant to her. Okay. Very interesting. So, and it's like, you see, people who never learn the Talmud and other things, they have some, I don't know, maybe secular people, right? They maybe have MDA or some educated people, right? So and you start studying with them, and they try to simplify things. It's unbelievable, simplify things. That's not what we do. So because of the why they cannot concentrate. So they can concentrate. These people, if they give them keywords, sometimes you go to customer support, you talk to them, they try to hear keywords, and they say, okay, that's did I resolve all of the issues? And I will say no. So whoa, I said, did I answer? I said you did not answer my question. That's you answer your question, whatever you wanted to say, but I ask you totally different question, right? So people cannot concentrate. That's a big issue. Thus, our sages declared, in Sota 21b, whoever teaches his daughter Torah is like one who teaches her tales and parables. That's terrible, basically. Our translation based on Rambam's commentary of the Mishnah Sota 3.3. So sometimes this word is even translated romance. The Miri renders its vanity. Explain the woman who studies will boast her achievements, right? And it is true. So women, since there were women, they came to our house, and after sometimes you see that she's like 3 times smarter, not smart, 3 times knowledgeable, or 10 times or 100 times knowledgeable that her husband. You understand? So, and if she will start boasting, of course he would not like it, and it's going to come to the family issues, of course, right? This applies to the oral Torah. So I mean, but she's obligated to on other parts. With regard to the written Torah, at the outset, one should not teach one's daughter written Torah. However, if one teaches her, it is not considered if she was taught idle things. Written Torah. Okay, 92. Commentary. Though the Rambam statements are quoted in Shulchan Aruch, Yoreh De'ah 246.6, the source of this statement has been questioned. Some points out to the Mishnah, Nedarim 3.3, which in passing mentioned the daughter's study of the written law. However, the Rambam's own text of the Mishnah lacks the words or daughters. Very interesting. Others points to Chagiga 3a, and more specifically to Yerushalayim Talmud 1.1, which describe the reading of the Torah by the king during Hakel celebration. Which so Hakel is I think it's in 7th year. So in 7th year, when after the Shemitah's year, after the Sukkot, so they would build this platform specifically for a king, right? And then the base of Mikdash, and he would read some parts from the Torah very loud, right? So and it says who should come and hear, men and women and children, right? It's so men and women to learn, and they say why children must come. They say so to give the reward to their parents for carrying them. Okay, so let's see. So he described the reading of the Torah by king during the Hakel celebration, which women were also required to attend. Nevertheless, there is a difference between study of the written law in its entirety and hearing the reading of the few inspirational phrases. So it's, I mean, he just read one parasha, not even one parasha. Yeah, I don't remember exactly what pieces he reads, but some, only some. Okay, C to raise a half, 246.4. Continue. In a contrast, it might be noted that Tur's text of the Rambam reverses the statements and mention teaches of the woman of the oral Torah is preferable to written law, which is, I mean, logically it makes sense. Oral Torah, she needs to know all of these laws, right? This can easily be reconciled with opinions mentioned above, which requires a woman to learn the laws governing to mitzvahs she is obligated to fulfill. In a contrast, the written law is less closely defined field of study, right? So I mean it's Halachah A, right, from the beginning to the end with a commentary with explanation, but it's easier to to grasp it. But when you read the commentaries, sometimes some people like to go too deep in some things, so they would read all of the commentaries, and sometimes it's too much. You lose the idea, right? But the written law is pretty much to the point. There is greater possibility exists that a woman who is not gifted may be misinterpret the teaching. Of course, as we said, you have to work with the commentary, not to misinterpret anything. 1 second. Okay. Any questions on what we said? Or okay. If not, so we finish that chapter and we go to the next chapter, number 2. Okay, so now we're going to, it finishes, so now we're going to go to learn about teachers, right? Teachers of the small children should be located in each and every land, in each and every region, and in each every village. If a village does not have children who study Torah, the city populace is placed under the ban of ostracism until they employ a teacher for the children. If they do not employ a teacher, the city is deserved to be destroyed. Since the world exists only by the virtue of the breath coming from the mouth, right, of the children who study Torah. So we're going to go with the details in this halakha, but we know how important, like a community that does not have a school to teach children, they have no right to exist. You understand? And we're not talking about public school, of course. We're talking about Yeshivah. Okay, so let's see from the beginning, and we're going to comment. So it says, the teacher of the small children should be located in each and every land, in each and every region, and in each and every village. Okay, commentary. Baba Basra 21a proclaims, remember that man for good. Yeshua ben Gamla is his name. Where is not for him, the Torah would have been forgotten by the Jewish people. So that's a strong statement. Because of one person, right? Because of him, we have Torah. What did he do? Originally, a person who had a father would be instructed by him, while a person who had no father would not be instructed, right? So, I mean, it's very simple. Afterwards, they instituted a practice of employing teachers of young children in Yerushalayim, as implied in Yeshayahu 2:3, from Zion shall go forth the Torah. And as we know today, I mean, the same, of course, the best yeshivas are all in Yerushalayim or Leib, but okay. Right, so okay, so and until some time, right, till some time ago, the fathers were responsible. But if first of all, that does not mean that the father knowledgeable himself. First of all, second of all, maybe he does not have time. He has to work to provide for his family. So that's why they institute. Okay, you have to provide for his family. You also have to provide a teacher for your children. Nevertheless, whoever had a father would be taken to Yerushalayim, while one who did not have father would not be taken there, meaning to study. That's it. So he's like dead. Accordingly, they instituted the practice for employing teachers in every region. They would begin to study at 16 or 17. Very interesting. However, if the student's teacher was angry with him, he would scoff at him and leave. Right, so let's read one more time to try to explain. Accordingly, they instituted the practice of employing teachers in every region. They would begin study at 16 or 17. I'm not sure why that late. I guess because they have like a more mature, but it's like too late. However, if the student's teacher was angry with him, he would scoff at him and leave. I mean, because 16, 17, he's a grown-up person. This situation persisted until Yeshua ben Gamla came and instituted the practice of employing teachers of the young children at each and every land, in each and every region, and each and every village. That's the proper way from the young age, right? And you see our granddaughter, she's a few years old, like I don't know, two years, a few months. So she already know Havdalah. She was Shabbos mama in her kindergarten. So I mean, all of these things, she knows. I mean, she does. I mean, she speaks just a few words, but she knows everything. She knows when to say amen, what bracha to say, how to wash the hands, this and stuff like that. Right? That's when you start early. But other people, like even like in the 16, 17, they have no idea. Havdalah? Who is Havdalah? Understand? So that's very important to start education early as possible. They would bring the children to the schools at the age of the 6 or 7. Okay, this practice was continued in the subsequent generations, even though the dispersion of the Jewish people and the subjugation by the Gentile powers made the management of their communion affairs more difficult throughout the ages. We find references to the establishment of communal programs of education in both codes of the law and the chronicles of the Jewish history. That's always, wherever we went, we first built Yeshivah, right? Or it was the first thing to establish the shul. Many times kids learn in a shul, so we could not afford two buildings, so one building was enough. Oh, 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay, so one building was enough, so we were learning there. No problem. So all of the children, and it was obligatory to pay community tax. Right? It's not government tax; it's a community tax, and this community tax was for children, right? For children and education, because it was a community's obligation to hire teachers to teach them, right? So some people they were not able to afford, but that does not mean that we as a community have a right to have the children not be educated. Today, since everybody for themselves, in some sense, right? Today, so everybody is responsible for their own children education. But in olden days, so it was not the case. So the whole community was responsible for the whole community children. So continue. Of course, the non-Jewish government, they tried to suppress it and create many problems for us, but Baruch HaShem, we never gave up. So, okay. Originally, it was customary for the community to impose taxes to pay, here we go, apologies, here we go. Taxes for education for all children, whether the parents were rich or poor. However, and not only them, so even people who did not have children, it's still the future life depends on the next generation, right? Who is going to be in charge of the community. However, at present, it became customary for each parent to pay for his own child's education, as we said. However, if he lacks the financial means to do so, the community is obligated to accept this burden, and the community would pay. I'm not sure how does it work today. But they do some kind of fundraising and stuff like that. So in order to be able to pay, because some people like Balchuas, they have no means to pay, and parents are not going to pay. Guess what? How much they're going to pay? They're willing to pay exactly zero, right? Because they would say, okay, look, I was happy with the public school, so you want my son to go to the different school. Okay, so you pay. You pay, Rabbi. You want me to go? You want him to go there? But we say, okay, but the class is so one boy that we play some, and that's just recently. So the class is 9 people in a class. So I mean, I said, look, you have to be reasonable. It's not 9 people in a class. It's a personal attention. In the high school where he was, it was like 25 people for in a class. So, but of course, so in this case, of course, we had to raise money to pay for his education. Yeshivah raised money, other people raise money, so it's very interesting. Okay, so continue. It was number 1. If village does not have children who study Torah, the city populace place under the ban of ostracism. So see chapter 7, Halachah 5, precise definition of the term. Many that people do not do business with them. So it's very big pressure on the community. Number 2, continue. So we put them under ban of ostracism until they employ teachers for the children. So we pressure them. So nobody is allowed to buy from them, to sell them, right? So they would employ the teacher. If they do not employ the teacher, the city deserves to be destroyed. Of course, we don't kill anybody, right? But just so they know how the heavenly court looks at it, it's like they deserve to be killed, all of them. Commentary. The Rambam statements are based on Shabbos 119b. Though our text of the passage differs slightly from the statement here, in the various commentaries and quotes, for example, Slichas Rabbeinu Chai Gaon, the Halachas Rabbeinu Yitzhak Alfasi, we find the various versions of that passage. Hence, it is possible to assume that Rambam's statement are a quote in the text of the Talmud, from his text of the Talmud. Okay, meaning that cities that deserve to be destroyed. Since the world exists only, so that's a very important statement, why the world exists, right? Only by the virtue, right, of the breath coming from the mouths of the children who study Torah. Don't want all less. Not because we study Torah, but because this pure neshamas are studying Torah. As it says, commentary, for their breath is not tainted by sin, as it says in Talmud Shabbos. Okay, based on the latter statement, some authorities require the community to support children's study only until they reach bar mitzvah, since afterwards they no longer possess this quality, so they're not as pure. After the bar mitzvah, since they're obligated, they're not as pure. So I think we have some time. Let me see how long is Halachah. And it's too long. And do we have any questions? We can go ahead, please.
Yes, Abod Rab. So what do you do if you don't have the means to send your child to Yeshivah or anything like that? You don't have, you live out in the country, or you live nowhere close to a community, but you want to move to the community, but you don't have the means right now. Your financial situation is not the best. And what do you do in something like that you do want to teach your kid, Torah and whatnot?
Okay, so first it depends how old is kids. So if they're a little older, so let me start from a little older age. So we have a boy now. He just tried to call me. I ignored the call. So since the family is not absorbing, I understand it's not your question, but just practical example. So we arranged for him to stay in Yeshivah. You understand? So there is a dormitory, and he stays there with other boys and learns. So one of the actually requirement for a Jew, so a Jew cannot live alone wherever he can afford, right? A Jew has to live in a Jewish community, and of course it is much more expensive. You see, if you live in a city, like even like where I live, like when the biggest concentration of the most religious neighborhood, the prices go up like much more, like I don't know, like 50% up. Like 5 blocks from here, like the same house, like half of the price. But it's very far of walk to the shul, and it's very like this house would be removed from the community. Of course, gradually people like expand, the Jewish neighborhood expands, but we cannot live separately, right? And there is always yeshivas that provide some kind of tuition, especially today. So it depends on a state, because some state they actually subsidize, right? Because the child does not go to the public school, so they give some subsidy. So technically, the parents should pay like a private school, whatever is it. It could be $500 per child, 1,000, depends on the school, plus minus, right? Plus the subsidy, so it should work. So, but if a person cannot afford, so usually yeshivas work with these people, and they try to find a donor or like somebody who is going to like adopt this kid and pay for tuition from them. Right? That's also not uncommon. Right? They do their own fundraising. So I mean, they always work. So all of these kids, I was privileged to place in different yeshiva from public school. So I mean, this yeshiva is very very understanding of the situations. You understand? They trying to help, and many times they like far from the rich establishments. They're very very poor. They hardly like breaking even sometimes they don't. So they delay the salaries to the rabbis, and it's a terrible situation. But that's what it is. So if you know that somebody is rabbi in Yeshua, basically he's a working tzaddik, because he's not making money, or if he's making some money, it's a minimum of the minimum, unfortunately, in most of the places. But they always willing to work with you. It's one part of the question answer. But second question, we cannot live like outside. Outside is not working out so good, especially for men. Men has to do many things like in community. You have to go to minyan. You have to like, now Rosh Hashanah is coming. You have to pray with the community. Like Yom Kippur is coming, Sukkah, all of these things. So it's only with community. So what to do? I don't know, pray and try to look for different opportunities. So if somebody like open, HaShem is going to send them send some way. I don't know, somebody is going to tell you, you know what, I need in this yeshiva, like in this Jewish community, whatever thing, I need somebody to work there, and I give them free apartment. Like minimum salary, but free apartment. Okay, so here we go. You're not employed the whole day, so but you have to like get in touch with the community and see what you can do. So I have the one family in a different country, not in this country, and there the Jews are very scared. They're not open. They don't want to like they're afraid. Period. Like, I mean, of course, I think that they have a reason. So I don't know. I'm trying to give them the benefits of the doubt because of the many crazy people. So there is no known phone numbers of the rabbis. Right. First, when they asked me, I said, "Of course, call the rabbi. What do you mean? Call the rabbi of the place." And they said, "No, you cannot call the rabbi." So Rabbi Reuben, the phone is everywhere, like Rabbi Mizrachi. My phone is everywhere, like emails, like you want to send personal email. But in that country, I was trying to find the chief rabbi's contact, his biography, all of this, his great pictures, his YouTube videos, like everywhere, but not his personal information. You understand? So they asked me what to do, and we decided they have to go there and meet in person with the people and try to see if they can help. And these people is very poor. No, not also. I mean, they're very poor. Period. So they can afford, I don't know, to live in that place like for 6 days. That's what they told me. Gas plus transportation, 6 days. Okay, so they go into 6 days and see what. Maybe there is some opportunities to stay there. You understand? We pray to HaShem to send you, but not only pray. You pray and do something. Okay, what else?
Yes, Rob. One more question.
Please.
As far as like teaching your kids, that you have one boy, one girl, is there a certain, I guess, to a certain point, you can teach your little girl as far as teaching your son? Is there like any, a stopping point? Okay, this is the only, so far I can teach her this, and the wife has to teach her the rest,
It depends how old the kids. When they're little, they learn exactly the same. He has to know what bracha to make, and she has to know what bracha to make, and all other things. I mean, there is no big difference, almost no big difference, or no any difference when they're little. When they grow older, okay, yes, he has to go to learn the Gemara, and she has to go and learn laws of kashrus and other things what pertain to women. You understand? But the boy is not obligated. So we relied, we technically rely on his wife, on his wife to be that she's going to be knowledgeable. But I always encourage people to learn all these things. I mean, I'm men. Even the laws of ritual purity, not ritual, family purity. They must know. Like wife is confused. So who she's going to ask, right? So he has to know, like, at least the more knowledge you have, at least you know. Maybe you're not going to remember all of the halachas, but at least you would understand that in this situation it's a problem. I don't know what to do. I don't remember, but I know there is a problem and we have to ask. But many people, they do not know like when to ask and what to ask. That's a scary thing. So at least when we cover like same subject as women, like so at least you know that it could be an issue. Maybe let the wife take charge, but at least you know a lot about it also. But otherwise, yeah, there is no difference. The only difference, as we learn, he goes to Gemara and she stays on other topics. Okay. What else? Any other questions? Okay, if not, so we stop here then and continue tomorrow with Halachos or Brachos. Thank you very much and good night.